This is not an interview. There is no format. This is simply a conversation about life.
I assume with these feelings, you're doing something in your life to not be so much a part of it. Like,
Maybe, I don't know. I think I'm just contributing just as much as everyone else. I mean, I'm not saying I'm not a hypocrite. I mean, I drive a car. We have an electric car, but what happened to get that going? I mean,
right,
that's not any better, but I'm
right,
not
right.
filling my gas tank up every week, but I'm plugging into electricity that comes from a nuclear power plant that's not far away. So like what's the difference
Right, right,
really?
right.
You know,
Okay,
um, it's not, I don't think that I'm any better than anyone else,
okay,
honestly.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, do you think people are willfully doing it though? Like, do you think people are doing things because they don't care, or
I think some people are. I do. I think most people just don't know. I think it's a lack of education. And I think some people are blatantly just, I mean, take for example, all of the fossil fuel industry, the people that are in charge of that, I think sure as hell know what is going on because there's so many activist groups, environmental groups that are saying, hey, this is what's going on. And they're like, nah,
Mhm.
money, it's greed. So I think there's a point of willful ignorance, and then there's also just like a lack of education, but it's on different levels.
So okay, so do you think um agreed? I don't know. See, here's my thing. Here's my thing, right? I I have I've been trying to have an equal amount of empathy for everyone, right?
Hmm.
From top to bottom. And I don't necessarily I don't necessarily think that it's as simple. I feel like referring to someone as greedy, right, is too simple. Is too simple, and although everyone is greedy in a certain
Hmm.
way, or greedy about certain things, and it's just, or they're no better or worse. I think you said that they're no better or worse than the next person. It's just how their greed could be, um like how it can be expressed given their own circumstances, right? Like, if
Hmm.
someone, but someone who owns an oil company versus a person who just owns a house could be the same amount of greed. You know what I
Right.
mean? It's just that
Yeah.
this person keeps their electricity, keeps all the lights on in their house, and you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, but I also think that I don't know that it's there's got to be other factors involved in using fossil fuels, for instance, or whatever, or someone continuing a business. It can't. I personally can't imagine that it's really that simple.
Right.
And you
Yeah.
and it's almost like so many things. Excuse me. So many things would have to change in order to make, because I know what, like, a lot of activist groups. Well, I don't want to say I know. I'm going to say I have a somewhat of an understanding of what activist groups are trying to do and what the concerns are, right?
Hmm.
But if we can't get everyone on the same page, then you know what I mean? Because as soon
Yeah.
as if we go by like what's happening now, and like now we don't have enough supposedly we don't have enough oil or whatever, and so it's having this rippling effect, and so now the supply chain is messed up, and you know, so people don't have the access to the things that they would normally have.
Mm-hmm.
And not everyone is going to say, well, this is what it needs to be in order for us to divest ourselves from being beholden to, I'm trying to use big words, beholden to to oil, you know, to fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've had like these kinds of conversations with people all the time about like, ah, yeah, and it's them, and it's them, and it's them, it's them. You know what I mean? And then
Mm-hmm.
you ask them, okay, so what are you doing?
Yeah.
Do you ride your bike to work? Do
Right.
you know what I mean? Like, do you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so are you trying to just not have plastic bags? Do you bring your bags to the market? You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and so I think that we all kind of play a part in it. Excuse me. We all play a part in it, and but somehow we pick certain people
Yeah.
to lay the blame on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like we do this all throughout our lives.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. There's definitely a lack of personal responsibility. I think each one of us is responsible for taking action and creating what we feel is the best way to go through our life.
Mhm.
And we're doing the best we can with what we've got and the education we have. I think that's really important. We lived in Mexico for 4 years and people burned their trash.
Mhm.
This was plastics, all the things, everything right in front of their house, in the middle of the neighborhood, dioxins, things that affect reproduction, like all the hormones, affect the cells in our bodies and turn cancerous.
Mhm.
And they just didn't know. I truly believe they just didn't know. And my husband's pretty fluent in Spanish, and he actually wrote a letter and went and like put it on the burn barrel on the trash can of these people that were burning their trash all the time when it wasn't burning. So the next time they went to put it in, I think they saw it and they stopped burning their trash for a short time. They went back to it, but it was like, oh, they probably just don't know. Because if you're holding a 2-year-old in your arm and you're burning their diapers right in front of them and you knew that it was like toxic for your 2-year-old, you probably wouldn't do it. And so, they stopped for a period of time. And I really think it's just, they're doing the best. They didn't know what else to do with their trash. It's like you live in your trash or you burn your trash.
Right.
And if you don't burn it in front of your house, it's going to go to the dump and burn because that's what they did there. So I don't think anyone was malicious about their intent of like, I'm going to like toxify all my neighbors. It was just what you do.
Right. Right.
Or that's not the right word. I'm not gonna like poison my neighbors.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not an intentional thing. You might not like all your neighbors, but you're not trying to poison them.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
no,
And I,
don't.
and people around, where I live, you're not allowed to burn your trash, but they'll have like giant brush piles that can burn. It's like, well, maybe there's other options like letting it decompose in the woods, or maybe our township could have a brush collection, and instead of burning it and putting all the stuff in the air, it could be just go back into a mulch cycle and be part of the cycle of what we're doing here.
Hmm. Yeah,
But yeah, I think a huge part of it is just not knowing.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so then so that's why it's so interesting that you would use the word despise,
Yeah.
because how can you actually despise a person who doesn't know?
Right. Right. This is
Yeah,
true.
yeah, yeah,
This
yeah.
is true. Yeah.
And
Well, you're calling me out on my shit. Thank you.